This is going to be the first kind of episode to our little podcast thing. This is really just like an episode, just like a video, normal video kind of thing, because I really kind of wanted the podcasts to be a bit longer. But so for those of you who do not know, we have just finished Q1 with Alan Connors coming out. Was it a week ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was a week ago. And we are so happy that is finally out. To all of you, hoping you're enjoying that. Hoping you're enjoying Q1 as a whole. But today we just wanted to go movie by movie and just have an unscripted conversation with you guys and with me and him about, you know, how Q1 kind of changed us as filmmakers, because it definitely has been a journey, and I think you guys can also see, I mean, starting with just Ordinary Man, just watching through the progression we've had. So today we're literally just going to talk about that. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Go watch. I've made a Q1 playlist you can go watch of all of our movies of this quarter. And stick around to the end, because we will be making a pretty big announcement at the end of this video about the big project we've been talking about. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and start with Ordinary Man.
Since that's yours, you should probably talk the most about it.
Okay, so Ordinary Man was, for those of you who do not know, our first movie. Or do you want to start with Asylum?
We can actually start with Asylum. So
Yeah.
Asylum
Is our very first movie.
It just didn't, at the time it didn't feel like one for us.
Yeah,
We just kind of slapped that one together in like a day or
I
two.
came up with the idea for that movie the day before he came over to my house.
Mhm.
And I talked to you about it over the phone, I think. And yeah, literally just in a day. We just filmed the whole thing in a day. I filmed a couple shots by myself, and that was that. It was, you know, no script, and...
But I remember that was a lot of fun to do, because we were just so used to doing like these little skits and like this funny stuff of us just like literally turning on the camera, just goofing off. That's really it. But I remember doing that. I'm just like, this is different, and I feel like we should go somewhere with this.
Yeah. It
And
was a turning point.
yeah, because it was very serious to us storyline from what we had been doing, and it was, I think that was the starting point for us. We always say like, oh, Ordinary Man, because it was like our first official short film, but this one was just kind of a starting point. Just kind of, I was really happy we did that, because I was like,
Yeah.
this is gonna start a lot of things, I think.
And it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because then Ordinary Man happened, and then we just took off. And without Asylum, I feel like, because I mean, realistically, you can go back all the way to even like the hostage video. Because I mean, if we wouldn't have, because that was the same day. Was that the same day we did Asylum? So we did 3 little things, I think, the same day, because we also did the suicide prevention thing. So there were 3 movies that
Which
happened.
didn't even get uploaded.
Yeah.
Those 2.
There were 3
reels.
videos that happened in the span of 2 days. So there was the hostage, which that was you literally just going, we should try to do something serious. And serious ended up being
Kind of funny.
Kind of funny. Yeah, it more took a funny
That's
direction.
the one where you had the pillow in your shirt.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. That one you can't watch anymore. We ended up taking it down. But that was realistically where we started. And then we did the suicide prevention video, that never got uploaded. And then we did Asylum. So, but with our, you know, skits, we kind of already had some experience in, I guess you could say, film. It wasn't really film, it was more just, we had some experience on, we had our techniques to how we would film stuff down before we started Asylum. But yeah, I think Asylum was definitely, I think that if Asylum didn't happen, Ordinary Man would have happened, which then would have caused a chain reaction, and we still would have just been doing skits. And it's good that happened, but yeah, I think that kind of sums up Asylum, unless there's anything else you want to...
Well, yeah, from there we did Ordinary Man, which was kind of our...
That was our breakthrough.
That was big to us.
Yeah.
Because I remember he called me and he was like, hey, I want you to write the script for this. I'd never written a script before. And I was just like, okay. And it was the first script, it's funny because it was the first script I wrote, and it was our first and pretty much only script we've done that I actually had a deadline that I had to have it done by, because remember, we didn't shoot that here. We actually went up to a mountain house, and that's where we shot it.
Yeah.
which was a ton of fun. But I remember writing the script, and Jack really liked it. And then we went up to this house, and I remember thinking, if we don't get any of this, right, then we can't come back here. This is like a one-time thing, and I think Ordinary Man was the movie that we kind of needed.
Yeah.
It may not have been our best movie,
motivated us.
but we needed to get that done.
Yeah.
And because I remember Jack was having all this trouble trying to just get it like uploaded, and it just would not work. And I was like, what if this doesn't work?
Yeah. It was definitely a stressful process.
And with that, we had to redo scenes at my house. Like a lot of the scenes, like if you've ever been to my house, and there's a scene on the back porch.
That was a redo.
That was a redo of a scene.
I actually think I liked it a bit more there. Actually,
Yeah.
Looking back on it, but yeah, it was. I think that the process was. It was looking back on it. It was three things. It was stressful. It was. I think the best filming experience.
It was so much fun.
I mean, especially being able to go to a location, but then it was also necessary. It was very, like you were saying, if Ordinary Man wouldn't have happened, that wouldn't have started this chain reaction of, okay, now we're doing this.
In that movie, I learned a very important thing about script writing, and this is important for anybody in our position making, aspiring filmmaker, getting into scripts. I learned that, so when I wrote that script, I wrote it thinking about like this crazy, like realistic set design, and I was going to be in this room with Jack, because I play a therapist and he plays basically a war veteran. And I was thinking we were going to have this like really cool looking therapist office with this big white room and this big table. And I remember getting there and it
being nothing like that.
And getting to filming and just says, this is like not at all how I pictured it. And that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
But I learned that from there on, I wrote scripts kind of having in mind, this is what I have, and this is what I need to write it around.
Yeah.
And that was a really important learning experience, not only for that, but just for so many other things.
Yeah.
And also kind of working, that was another first one where we were working against time.
Yeah.
Because whenever our parents are not, in our house or whatever kind of home alone, that's where we go to film.
Yeah, but we just rush to get it
It's
done.
just easier. And I remember they left, and it was just the two of us at the house, and we were like, we're going to get as much done as we can.
And we did.
And that was kind of our introduction to just kind of working against time.
Yeah.
But
and we've gotten pretty good at it.
And it was that was just a huge learning experience. And I still, even though it wasn't our best film, I still love watching it just because it was just so much fun making it. And like I said, I think it was mainly because obviously it was our first, and also that was our first like location other than our house. But
it was a good first film because it was good to be able to, we got the big experience of being able to go to a place, knowing when we were going there, we're going to be filming. And when we got there, being able, just that experience, like I remember so clearly of just walking around, plotting out where scenes are going to take place. Like even just that was just so much fun to me. And that, I mean, I can't wait till we get to do that again. But yeah, Ordinary Man was definitely a very necessary, and like we keep saying, it's definitely not our best one, but I think that you can definitely look back on that and see how important that was, and then to even like Alan Connor's and our most recent ones, seeing how much it affected that and how much we've learned from that. But yeah, so that's Ordinary Man. So we got See Two Faces, which
so Ordinary Man was directed by him, but I wrote the script. Now this one was just directed by me, but this was actually a movie I did not write a script to.
this was more like a silent.
I don't want to say I slapped it together because I did plan this movie. I think I got the idea a couple days after we got home from filming Ordinary Man, and I just I thought about this idea of this guy who just was like, originally it was going to be a movie about a guy who had like a split personality disorder, and he just kind of like was kind of enemies with himself, and I just ended up wanting to make this movie with kind of a scattered plot about just this killer and how he just kind of what's his life like, what is his life like, and And Jack knows this is not my favorite thing I've ever done, and it was an interesting movie because I wanted to make a movie that was not easy to understand, and I wanted to actually go back to that with Alan Connors, but we'll get to that. But it was just a movie that, unlike Ordinary Man, I mean, we actually filmed in 2 days, and I edited pretty soon after that, and it was uploaded. But that was just a movie where I was just kind of finding myself, just kind of like, okay, that was my learning experience, as just kind of, this is me directing a movie, and me coming up with a story, and having Jack play my character, or a character that I've created, whereas he's created my character and his character in Ordinary Man. This is kind of my Ordinary Man in a sense that it's just a learning experience. I can't really think of a whole lot to talk about. That one. Then we have Last Resort. Which I'll let him talk about because.
Last Resort was. I think Last Resort was. I think every single one of our films was a breakthrough film, but Last Resort especially because this was each the movie where, especially me on my part, when I watched the end result, it was scene for scene, take for take, shot for shot, everything I imagined. And for a filmmaker, that is the best feeling in the world.
As a filmmaker, the movie really does have to be perfect because, and maybe it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be exactly the way you envisioned it.
You become like a control freak about it. It's if it isn't the way you see it the first time.
And we have both experienced that.
And we'll get to there. But Last Resort was definitely one that I think we each look back on, and I mean it was done very well, and I think that you'll point out with like Silence, how we kind of found ourselves with a particular film, and I think Last Resort was the film that I kind of found myself, because I knew how I wanted it, and it was gonna be the way I wanted it, and that was that, and I did that, and here we are today. So I think we said this in one of our breakdowns that we did just recently. We sometimes watch our movies over again. I think I've watched that one the most, just because it's just such an achievement on pretty much every aspect of filmmaking, directing, writing, even cinematography, and just it was just and acting. I don't even know why that skipped over my head, but it was just, it's really perfect. It is a perfect movie. And it's just so well wrapped up. It's very Taxi Driver inspired. And yet it's so different. And that's what I like about it. There are little scenes in there that are actually tributes to Taxi Driver, which is one of our favorite movies. And I think that's what also makes it a little more special, is because it was our first movie with like a reference. But it's just also, it's just so good. And I talk so much about that movie. But what was after that? After that was 19.
Right.
Which 19, I feel like there's not much we can talk about.
Because that was his first movie.
This started our standalone stuff
that he did on his own, and he actually didn't tell me about.
So with this one, I actually shot. I want to say 70% of the shots, not knowing really what the story was about.
Really?
Yeah, I shot like that whole opening sequence where he's looking at the note. I took an original shot of that, and it was just me sitting there, and I just started like crying and acting that out, and then the story part of that scene popped into my head, so I reshot it with the note. But yeah, most of the time what I would do is I would take a shot of just me kind of walking around, like acting out what I thought was gonna happen. And then another chunk of the story would come to my head, and I'd go back and reshoot it. But there were definitely scenes where I literally was just in my room, nothing to do, and just shot a shot, and just came up with that. And I think that it was definitely a good...
I was very, very impressed by that.
Yeah, hearing his reaction, or just over phone, was such a...
Because I knew nothing about it. I had no idea what it was about. And those standalone movies are fun, because, especially for us, because we're so used to finishing a movie, watching it together, but just to do it.
Yeah.
Just to see that finished product. But the cool thing about standalones is even though we're both partners,
We don't know about that one.
we get to be in the audience's shoes for a little bit, and it's really fun. And I ended up doing that with another movie, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that, yeah.
But it was just basically about, your movie was about COVID-19, basically.
Yeah. A problem that a lot of people were facing. And there were obviously still mistakes with it. Like one of the mistakes that I think someone pointed out was the whole, I said 3 weeks, when COVID takes about 2 weeks to go away. That was just, I just said that in the narration, but it still was, I think that it was more, I think it was definitely my saddest film. I think it was still, because it was connectable, because a lot of people now have, you know, experienced and been around people who've had COVID. And, you know, COVID is obviously now a big part of our world now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was, at the time, it was more scary back then, because that was like at the beginning of quarantine, I think. Or that was during quarantine. And, you know, we weren't really able to get together as much as we wanted to. And, you know, it was definitely a hard time for everybody. And so making that film kind of motivated me more. And yeah, I'm definitely happy I came up with that one. But, and then we've got
Whatever It Takes. This is an interesting movie. I remember, it's funny because we realized that our first ever piece of content on our channel was a teaser trailer for Whatever It Takes, which
That's
I think is crazy. And it was funny because I came up with that teaser trailer in a day. I didn't have a script written for it. I had a story, but I just wanted to put this thing together. And it's funny because I wasn't even sure I was going to do it. So it was really weird of me to put that up. But I remember finishing that script and just, I was dying to just get that done and film that. That's my parents. And it's kind of like the same way I had with Silence, but I remember getting that movie done and just being so excited and filming it, and there was a huge problem with it. I was actually filming on one of my old phone and my old editing platform, and there was a bunch I had to take out. I had to take out the opening credits, I had to take out music from one of the scenes that we shot so carefully, and he had the same exact problem with All the Money in the World. And that's why these movies are so similar.
Yeah.
And it was really tough because I just was not satisfied with the finished product, and it took, I was just so excited to get that one out. I was like, I can't wait to do this. And I just remember releasing it and I was like, this is just not at all what I envisioned.
Yeah. Which is a sad moment.
And that was another, you know, learning experience. Not a learning experience that you want, but when you have to get used to, you have to get used to. I think that's where I learned that not everything's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to have that movie that, okay, that was kind of a bad one.
And we've each had that movie.
And I try to find the good things in Whatever It Takes. It was not a bad story. I talked to Jagam and I didn't have to sacrifice the story. I just had to sacrifice things like, you know, music and stuff like that, but that still kind of was one of the things that I really liked about that movie.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you have to take something like that out, but he had the same problem with, wasn't All the Money in the World after Whatever It Takes?
I think so.
That'd be perfect that you talk about that now.
Yeah. It was Ordinary Man, See Two Faces, Last Resort 19, Whatever It Takes, All the Money in the World.
Silence.
Jamie Fur.
Yeah.
Connors. Well, no, that's 9. Oh, and then there's Happy Life, but that's somewhere else. And I think that's after All the Money in the World. So yeah, then there's All the Money in the World, which came out right after Whatever It Takes. And this was, it's funny how back-to-back these were, because, you know, Whatever It Takes is kind of, you know, his, you know, kind of, not necessarily like bad film, and All the Money in the World wasn't like my bad. They're not
It just,
bad
it's
films.
a project that didn't exactly work out.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was the project that didn't turn out the way I saw it originally, and it was mostly on my part. Like with the one part that had the music in it, I kind of felt like I wanted to sort of have that really for you too, because you know you missed out on that with Whatever It Takes, and then it ended up working with this one too. But I mean, it just felt like I rushed it. It felt like because we got this one done in a day too, I think. And I was just like, go. I didn't just take my time. which I think is where I messed up, and that's on my part, but I still, I still find the best in it.
Mm-hmm. Because there are definitely some very good aspects of that, like acting. That was the movie that we rehearsed the scene the most.
Yeah.
It's that argument scene. And I just remember doing that over and over and over and over again. That was a lot of fun. But there are many aspects of that movie that I do like. And there are many aspects of Whatever It Takes I do like. But there's a lot there that we're like, we kind of wish we had in the movie, like the music. And then...
I think it was Happy Life.
Happy Life. So yeah, this was my standalone movie. Sort of like 19, this is what I did on my own and he had no idea about. And it's about a guy who just is struggling with the death of his parents. So much so that he's created this reality that they're still alive. And it's all about him, he's walking around the house and he's like, oh hey, or stuff like this.
Yeah.
And you realize that he's talking to nobody.
Very interesting.
That was a lot of fun to do, just again because he had no idea, and it was really fun, watching that with him over the phone and him being put in the audience member's shoes. And those are just a ton of fun, and I'd like to do more of those if we can.
I think quarter 2 will definitely have more of those.
Yeah.
Because they are definitely a lot of fun.
And then we have Silence. So
Silence, the big one.
That was a really big deal for me. This was the movie where I wanted to make up for Whatever It Takes, because they were both very similar in the sense that I just loved them so much, and I was like, I can't wait to release this. And Silence was just perfect. It was really...
It was the last resort.
It was a huge... Yeah, it was the last resort of my movies, and I think that it was just such a huge sigh of relief getting that out. There were still minor flaws with it, but I was like, I'm not gonna focus on those. We got this done.
Yeah. It's
great. You loved watching it. I loved watching it. And it was...
It was definitely a good filming experience, too.
And it's so funny that he compares this to Last Resort. Last Resort was the movie that was perfect for him, and it was everything he wanted to be, and it was the movie where he kind of found his directing style. And Silence was the exact same thing. I think it was a huge achievement on a lot of levels. It's where I kind of found my directing style. And it was really, to me, perfect. And I absolutely loved being able to get that out. And that one took so long to finish, and we were worried that, are we even going to finish that? We kind of had a little bit of an ordinary man moment with those. And that I was going to be devastated if I could not get that done or released. But it ended up working out perfect. And then we have...
Jamie Fern. Yep. So Jamie Fern was my last film, my 5th film of quarter 1.
Really I wanted to touch on Silence real quick. His performance in it just was absolutely incredible, and I think that it was kind of the movie where I really needed Jack to get this character right, and it was perfect, and I tell him all the time, like his character just drove the feeling you get from that film. I really wanted to put you guys you're like really on his side, and I think it really worked. And I also had to make a hateable character right off the bat with me.
Yeah.
And it was just, the acting in that movie was just one of our best. And I just wanted to... All right, back to Jamie Fern.
Yeah. So Jamie Fern was another breakthrough film in the sense that it was the first one my sister was in. Because the cool thing about this one was she came up with 90% of the story. We were just sitting in her room one day, and she was like, I kind of want to be in one of your movies. And I was like, okay, think of an idea. And literally she had no idea what to think about. And just within 5 minutes, she was like, I've kind of been thinking about this story. And I was just blown away that she came up with it. Not that I thought she couldn't, but just because, she knew what she was talking about so well. And, then I ended up writing a script, and she helped out with the script a lot, and then we just shot it whenever.
This was, again, another movie I had no idea about.
Yeah, he had no idea about it. We actually watched it together here. This is the second one we watched together. And, yeah, I think that it definitely has started I've already, with plans in the future, I've already scripted my sister in more of our stuff. You know, it's definitely, this film definitely helped us out a lot in the sense that we know that now it's not just going to be me and him. You know, if we need someone else to help us, we can be like, we can call my sister and, you know, bring her into it. And, you know, this film definitely pushed that more, because now seeing her in it and seeing that she was genuinely dedicated to it, she wasn't just, you know, playing around. We obviously had fun with it because, you know, you want to have fun making a movie, but, you know, she was genuinely, you know, like, we're going to do this and we're going to do this right. And, you know, every movie has its problems, and this one obviously did too. I mean, Last Resort has its problems. But, you know, I think that the only problem that I actually have with it was just the length of it. It just felt too quick. But that was really on my part, because I wrote this, what I thought was a long script. But it still was definitely, I think it was less about making an amazing movie and more about testing my sister. Not to the sense that I was like, you're gonna do good. I mean, I wanted her to do good, but I was just trying to make sure that, because I had plans for one of my movies, I won't mention it, but one of my movies of having her in it, and I needed to make sure she was going to be on board with this, and she definitely proved herself. So, yeah, and then there was Alan Connors.
So it's the last one. Most recent movie that was released a week ago, as of the day of this upload of this video, and you can check out the breakdown if you really want to know a lot about it.
Just finished it yesterday.
But it was just kind of, you know, as a progress standpoint, just kind of just working off of kind of the silence vibe. You know, I was really kind of finding my directing style in silence, and I was just kind of continuing to experiment with that in this, and just I'm going to continue to do that. And you know, silence was kind of also a little bit all over the place with style, and this was kind of all over the place with style. But and I take a lot of inspiration from different directors, mainly Stanley Kubrick and Quentin Tarantino. And I just kind of like to put little, you know, bits of their kind of style in my stuff, and Alan Connors is a big one. And Alan Connors, I also kind of wanted to go back to my roots with C2 Faces. Yeah. And I wanted to make a movie that was not necessarily kind of a silver platter type thing. I'm not going to give everything to you on paper. You kind of have to really analyze it. And I talk about that in the director breakdown. But just another thing I take away from this is amazing acting, especially on his part. And he only had one scene. He was originally going to have several, but it was one scene with one of maybe the longest monologue I've ever written. And I gave him, like, I remember we were getting ready to shoot it downstairs, and I was going up to get, I think, that stabilizer light, and I gave you like 5 minutes.
I just walked around the basement
just rehearsing it,
and over and over and over again.
It was like a first take, and it was perfect, and it was
a ton of fun.
I remember asking him not to blink, because in acting, if you really want to, like, especially if you're talking to another character, you don't want to blink, because that just kind of like shows that you're just an actor reading off the lines.
Yeah.
But he actually seems like that character, and I talked about this in the director breakdown. That was an interesting filming experience, because my parents weren't home for this, and I just locked myself in the office where I filmed it, and I just began to feel like this character, and I began to kind of become afraid a little bit of his character, also because I was there by myself, and it was just kind of, I watched The Shining on my own, and that was kind of already messing with my brain.
Yeah.
But that was just a lot of fun doing, and it was definitely one of my favorites, and it's, you know, some great progress. But
yeah.
Do you want to make the announcement?
So, okay, before we make this announcement, just thank you guys so much for all of you, you know, who have stuck through with quarter one. It's been a joyride, and it's been so good having all of your support throughout all this. You know, you guys get to learn about film, and we get to learn about film. So thank you all for whoever's been with us since the beginning. Thank you. But
we have gotten nothing but good support.
Yeah, and it has been a huge motivation to keep going. It's just you guys. You guys are our motivation, and just, you know, continue to support us, and we will continue to make you amazing films. But our big announcement. So we keep talking about, in some of our videos, we keep saying, you know, we have this big project coming up. So quarter one is not done yet. We have one last hurrah before this break we keep talking about, and before quarter two begins. So we have been working on this for a long time. We have put a ton of thought into it.
Script is done.
Script is officially done. I actually just filmed the shot today. So our big project is we will be doing, I'm getting chills talking about this for some reason. We will be making an Asylum reimagined, which is so cool to officially say.
It'll be our last movie
Of quarter 1.
and we want to do this because Asylum was our first movie and really our foundation.
Yeah.
And we want to finish it off, and we're going to be adding a lot more to
Yeah,
this.
it's gonna be a long movie. You see, actually a while ago, I think Ryan commented and asked if we would ever make a 45-minute, feature movie. And
This may be this.
we are seeing this one. Originally, we were like, oh, it'll probably only be 30 minutes, but with the script done, it's looking like it'll be closer to 45 minutes, which is so exciting.
And even really, if it's not long, we still have.
It's still a very.
It's gonna be really.
It's
good.
gonna be really good. I think you guys will really like it, and we're definitely drawing a lot. It is totally different from the original one, but also very similar to the original one. So I think you guys will like it a lot. We're so excited to be finally announcing this to you guys, and we're so excited to let you see the finished product. But yeah, that is
That will be, I think, an awesome ending to the first quarter.
And then we'll obviously still have second quarter. We have a lot planned for that, but
Almost the entire second quarter
Yeah.
planned out, honestly.
yeah,
And we were worried that we kind of wouldn't. We were like, what are we gonna do for next quarter?
yeah.
But then we've just been calling a lot recently and figuring things out. But
yeah,
so that's basically it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you for sticking around. Ask us any questions you have, if you have any. Go watch the director breakdowns, Alan Connors. Go ahead and just watch through the quarter 1 playlist. It'll take you, an hour of your time. If you got nothing other to do, just watch through quarter 1. See our progression. Like we said, be looking out for Asylum. We probably won't be posting as much because we're going to be focusing on Asylum.
It's gonna take a while. That's
it's
gonna be
gonna take
our
a long time,
biggest
yeah.
project.
It'll probably take a couple months, but maybe not.
Maybe even longer.
Yeah, but yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you later.
Peace.